the masters of India in the West who clarified the teaching in treatises, and the eminent monks of China and Japan set forth the true intent of the great sage, the world hero, and revealed that the Tathagata's primal vow accords with the nature of beings. The Tathagata Sakyamuni on Mount Lanka prophesied to the multitudes that in South India, Bodhisattva Nagarjuna would appear in this world to crush the one-sided views of being and non-being. Proclaiming the unexcelled Mahayana teaching, he would attain the stage of joy and be born in the land of happiness. Nagarjuna wrote the commentary on the 10 Bodhisattva stages, and particularly sorrowing for those on the steep trails of difficult practice, therein reveals for all the great way of easy attainment. With a mind of reverence, one should keep and say the name and quickly attain the stage of non-retrogression. When Shinjin is pure, one immediately sees the Buddha. Bodhisattva Vasubandhu declares in a treatise that, relying on the sutras, he will clarify the true and real. Casting light on the universal primal vow, by which we leap crosswise beyond birth and death, he expounds this vow that surpasses conception. He reveals the mind that is single, so that we, fettered by blind passions, be saved by Amida's directing of virtue through the power of the primal vow. When a person turns and enters the great treasure ocean of virtue, necessarily he joins the Tathagata's great assemblage. And when he has reached that lotus-held world, he immediately realizes the body of tranquility and equality. Then, sporting in the forests of blind passions, he manifests transcendent powers. Entering the garden of birth and death, he assumes various forms to guide others to enlightenment. Turning toward the dwelling of the great teacher Tan Luan, the ruler Xiao of Lang always paid homage to him as a bodhisattva. Bodhiruchi, master of the Tripitaka, gave Tan Luan the Pure Land teaching. And Tan Luan, burning his Taoist scriptures, took refuge in the land of bliss. He wrote a commentary on the treatise of Bodhisattva Vasubandhu, in which he reveals the Tathagata's vow at work in our saying of the name. The directing of virtue for our going and returning is based on the primal vow. When Shinjin unfolds in the foolish being, possessed of all blind passions, he immediately attains insight into the non-origination of all existence, and comes to realize that birth and death is itself nirvana. Without fail, he reaches the land of immeasurable light, and universally guides sentient beings to enlightenment. Tao Zhou determined how difficult it is to fulfill the path of sages, and reveals that only passage through the Pure Land Gate is possible for us. He criticizes endeavor in the myriad good practices, since they depend on self-power, and he encourages us solely to say the fulfilled name, embodying true virtue. With kind concern, he teaches the 3 characteristics of entrusting and non-entrusting, compassionately guiding all identically, whether they live when the Dharma survives as but form, when in its last stage, or when it has become extinct. Though a person has committed evil all his life, when he encounters the primal vow, he will reach the world of peace and realize the perfect fruit of enlightenment. Shantao alone in his time clarified the Buddha's true intent, and deeply drawing on the primal vow, he established the true teaching. Sorrowed by the plight of practicers, meditative or non-meditative, and those of grave evil, he reveals that Amida's name and light are the cause that brings about birth. When one encounters this gate leading to nirvana and encounters true mind, without fail one acquires the bodhisattva wisdom, confidence, joy, and awakening. And attaining the birth that surpasses comprehension, one immediately realizes the eternal bliss of suchness. Genshin, having broadly explained the teachings of Sakyamuni's lifetime, wholeheartedly took refuge in the land of peace and urges all to do so. In accord with the sutras and treatises, he chooses the teaching and practice of birth in the Pure Land. Truly, they are the eye and limb for us of this defiled world. Ascertaining the virtue of the single practice and the inadequacy of diversified practice, he leads us to turn and enter the Nembutsu gate, which is true and real. Solely by distinguishing profound and shallow minds of devotion, he sets forth truly the difference between the fulfilled land and the transformed land. Genku, clearly understanding the sacred scriptures, turned compassionately to foolish people, both good and evil. Establishing in this remote land the teaching and realization that are the true essence of the Pure Land way, he transmits the selected primal vow to us of the defiled world. Return to this house of transmigration, of birth and death, is decidedly caused by doubt. Swift entrance into the city of tranquility, the non-created, is necessarily brought about by Shinjin. Through their treatises and commentaries, these patriarchs, all with the same mind, save beings in the countless worlds of utter defilement and evil. All people in the present, both monk and lay, should rely wholly on the teachings of these venerable masters. Here ends the hymn, 120 lines in 60 verses.